For this part, I'm going to be talking about how the heart acts as a dual pump. The heart is a single organ, which acts as a double pump. One of the pumps, which happens first, carries deoxygenated blood to the lungs. At the lungs, carbon dioxide is got rid of and expelled, and oxygen is picked up. The second pump consists of oxygen-rich blood being delivered to the rest of the body. Whilst exercising, the heart pumps harder and faster to increase the blood pressure. When someone is relaxed, the parasympathetic nervous system sets the resting heart rate of around 70 beats per minute. But when exercising or feeling anxious, stressed, or threatened, the heart rate beats much more quickly. This means that more oxygenated blood is flowing to the muscles. The sympathetic nervous system triggers this. Hormones like adrenaline increase the heart rate because the body responds to it. Any athlete needs the heart as a dual pump to get oxygen to their muscles and to remove carbon dioxide, which is produced in the muscles. Also to remove lactic acid. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the heart's structure and function. The heart is made up of 4 chambers, the right and left atrium, and then below the right and left ventricle. The right atrium is linked to the right ventricle by the tricuspid valve. The function of the tricuspid valve is to prevent the backflow of blood into the right atrium when the ventricle contracts. The left atrium links to the left ventricle by the bicuspid valve. This valve prevents the backflow of blood into the atrium below it. Each ventricle is attached to its aventricular valve by the chordae tendineae. When the ventricles contract, this usually forces these valves up and into the atria. The chordae tendineae holds each valve securely to stop the backflow of blood occurring. The heart sits in a double-layered sac for protection. This sac consists of 2 layers. The inner layer for the chamber is called the variceal pericardium, which is also known as the epicardium. The outer layer of the sac is called the pericardium. The heart itself is made of 3 layers, the epicardium, myocardium, and endocardium. The outermost layer of the heart is called the epicardium. The epicardium is a thin layer of cells which covers the outside of the heart. It's mainly made of connective tissue and it acts as a protective layer. The myocardium is the next one I'm going to be talking about. So the myocardium is a cardiac muscle layer. It's the thickest layer of the heart's tissue out of all of the 3. The layer of cardiac muscle is responsible for contraction, which results in blood being pumped due to the force generated. The contraction of the myocardium pumps oxygenated blood to the body. Finally is the endocardium. The endocardium's job is protection, by forming a barrier between the muscle layers of the blood and heart. The endocardium is the innermost layer of the heart. Now I'm going to be talking about papillary muscles. Papillary muscles are found in the ventricles of the heart. Their job is to connect the cusps of the atrioventricular valves and the chordae tendineae. These muscles contract to avoid the collapsing of these valves. Now I'm going to be talking about aortic and pulmonary valves, which are both known as semilunar valves. The aortic valve is located between the left ventricle and aorta. The function of the valve is to close off the lower left chamber that keeps the oxygen-rich blood before it's pumped out of the body. The pulmonary valve is located between the right ventricle and pulmonary artery. It opens when the blood pressure increases during ventricular systole. It then pushes blood out of the heart and into the artery and closes when pressure drops inside the heart. The semilunar valves are located in the pulmonary artery and aorta, which are blood vessels that are going away from the heart. After ventricular contractions, semilunar valves only allow the blood to leave the heart through these vessels. The semilunar valves are closed by the arteries recoiling and the relaxation of the ventricles. And now finally in this video I'm going to be talking about the left ventricle. So the left ventricle has a thicker muscular wall than the right ventricle. This is because the left ventricle has to generate more power for its contractions to push blood to the systemic circulation. But the right ventricle only pushes blood to the lungs, which is nearby, so it doesn't need as much power to be generated and therefore has a thinner muscular wall.